Welcome, everybody, to the first ever podcast for the Conspiracy Madness podcast show, part of the Big Blue Madness network of shows. We also currently have one other podcast up. We actually have 3 episodes up of Technology Madness, so go on iTunes or Google Play or Stitcher, any of the main distributors of podcasts, and check that podcast out. Basically, it covers everything technology. The Conspiracy Madness podcast, which is the one you're listening to now, I'm pretty sure you're aware of that fact, is basically a podcast that is going to cover conspiracies and mysteries and just topics around that genre of podcast. So my name is Chris. I'm going to be the co-host for the Conspiracy Madness podcast. I'm here with Jonathan.
What's up, everybody?
He is the other co-host. Throughout the Conspiracy Madness podcast, we will have guests coming in and out, so we'll have different flavors, that kind of thing. This is not going to be a real serious podcast. You'll have, us being lighthearted and kind of trying to enjoy it because we kind of have fun doing this. At least I have fun doing this. I don't know about Jonathan. A couple of other things that we're going to try to work in is we're going to start doing, hopefully, some video podcasts that correspond with the Conspiracy Madness. To where you can actually see us discussing it in a forum. We'll be doing that through YouTube and maybe some on Facebook Live. And hopefully everybody will be as entertained as we are as we do this. So with this being the first podcast of the Conspiracy Madness show, this is kind of a milestone for us. It gets our second one up and online. So today's topic is on
the Mandela Effect.
All right. So hopefully we'll give you some insight on the Mandela Effect with this podcast, and you haven't done too much research on it on your own, just for the fact that there is so much out there on the Mandela Effect on the internet. So for those of you who have no clue what the Mandela Effect is and why what we're talking about is actually called the Mandela Effect, this all started back couple of decades ago, actually, with Nelson Mandela, who a lot of people in their memory actually remember Nelson Mandela dying in the 80s.
Yup, in prison.
So he died in the 80s in prison, and there's a lot of people that remember watching the newscast about it, watching his funeral, and some other things along that lines. But in reality, Nelson Mandela did not die until 2013?
Yeah, 2013. He actually became president of South Africa.
Yeah. So, because that was the very first one that was discovered, this topic basically got named the Mandela Effect. So, I guess you're trying to figure out, well, what does that have to do with anything? Well, the Mandela Effect, besides the thing with Nelson Mandela, is how a person believes an event or a movie quote or in some cases a name of a famous wrestler in the WWE and WCW, what their name was. Somebody remembers it one way, but in reality it's always been another way, at least this reality. So this goes back to where it gets into the possibility that, we could be in a alternate universe or
simulation,
an alternate reality. Something has changed the timeline. All those wonderful conspiracy theories that go along with this topic, which I'm not sure that we'll get into those today, but I think we'll have another episode or another, I guess, a 3-part series on this topic.
Something along those lines.
Yeah, to where we'll be able to dive into more of not only what the Mandela Effect is and some really, really powerful examples of the Mandela Effect, but also what we think actually caused the Mandela Effect. And then Jonathan's got another whole nother topic that he can fill up a whole show just on one piece of the Mandela Effect.
Yep.
So hopefully you guys are going to be as entertained as we are in doing this. And I know I've said that before, but I'm really adamant about that we want you guys to enjoy it as much as we are. So I will kind of state this, that me and Jonathan both are very aware of kind of this topic and the examples that we're going to give you guys. Uh, so neither one of us are going to act shocked as we have this conversation.
Yeah, not shocked at all.
Granted, we were shocked when we first started researching the Mandela Effect, because some of this you're going, no way. There's no way it was ever like that. I don't believe it. It's just not true. But
And yeah, like now when we discover one, we just kind of accept it because we're just kind of used to changes happening now.
yeah, so let's go ahead and jump right in and get started here. So, Jonathan, what is our first example of the Mandela Effect that you'd like to discuss today? I know we've discussed many, many topics on this, but let's start out of the gate with something that you want to discuss.
All right, I know you're a Star Wars fan. I'm a Star Wars fan. So
And probably most people that listen to podcasts are probably Star Wars fans.
yeah, Star Wars is pretty popular.
Yeah. Well, it's been around since the 70s. I mean, with episode 1, that's right. It is episode 1, not episode 4, okay? I don't care what they've done, how George Lucas renamed all that stuff. It is episode 1,
Yep.
okay? I'm sorry. And it was never named The New Hope until the prequels were done, and the prequels were done very poorly, but that's a totally different show altogether. But if you've listened to my Technology Madness podcast, I do go off on rants, and I apologize. All right, so what about Star Wars?
All right, well, Star Wars has a few examples of the Mandela Effect, but the first one we're going to talk about is the famous line between Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker.
Are you talking about the one that says, "Luke, I am your father"?
That is indeed the one I'm talking about.
All right, so what is the Mandela Effect on Luke, I am your father?
Well,
Wait, hold on.
Okay.
I really wish I had a voice changer for that. That'd be so cool.
That
wouldn't
would be cool.
And also, we would really like to play these audio clips for you to kind of show this. But if you do any research online, you'll be able to pull up these clips yourselves. And if I get the time before I post this, I will try to get some links down in the description so you can actually go see it yourself. But because of copyright laws and us being so new to the podcast world, we're not wanting to take any chances. So we're not going to put any sound clips into our podcast at this point in time. The intro and exit music that you'll hear, or outro music as they call it, that you'll hear played in this episode, it is actually free use, so there is no copyright on it, and it's free for us to have included, so we're not breaking any laws there. So back to Luke, I am your father.
Well, that's the way I remember it, you remember it.
Yeah, and probably most of the world remembers it.
Yeah, most of the world remembers it. But it's actually always been, no, I am your father.
See, that one right there was probably, right off the bat, the first one that we uncovered, and man, it was a shocker.
Yeah, like, it's mind-blowing because that's one of the most recognized quotes from the Star Wars series. And it's just kind of strange that everyone could just remember it the wrong way.
Well, how many television shows have it shown up on? I mean, that 70s show it was on.
Family Guy
it was on. I think it made it to the Big Bang Theory. Because I think it was Sheldon went and actually had some interaction with James Earl Jones. Of course, everybody knows James Earl Jones. Not only was he the voice of Mustafa in The Lion King.
Yep.
Or Mufasa. It was Mufasa. Yeah, not Mustafa.
Mufasa.
But he was also the voice of Darth Vader. So he had interaction with him, and I think in that episode, he actually had James Earl Jones do that quote of Luke, I am your father. So anyway, just throwing that out there, James Earl Jones himself said it on television after this movie. So, well, how does he, he was in the movie and he still is getting the quote wrong. So that one's a little odd. Like I said, that was the first one that blew our minds. So we got others for Star Wars?
Yeah, we have a few more, actually. I don't know if you're aware of this. Actually, I'm pretty sure you're aware of this.
I'm aware of all these.
C-3PO actually has a silver leg.
So this one is kind of interesting for me because I used to, when I was a kid, I grew up playing with the Star Wars figurines and all that kind of stuff, and owned C3POs, multiple C3POs. I've owned the one, the original C3PO action figure. I even owned the one from, I think, what is episode 6, which was technically episode 3 when it came out, where maybe it's episode 2. Anyways, it's the one where the C3PO that Chewbacca would carry on his back that was broken apart. They actually sold that one, and you could take him apart and put him back together. It came with the little backpack and everything. And he did not have a silver leg from the toy line.
I mean, if he's always had a silver leg, it wouldn't be that hard to get a piece of silver colored plastic.
For the toy, that's right. But the first time I noticed in the Star Wars universe of the silver leg was in the episode 7.
The Force Awakens.
That's right, The Force Awakens. I remember him having the silver leg because we were sitting in the movie theater. I think it was a movie tavern. Watching the movie, and I pointed out that he had a silver leg, so he had to be repaired since it was such a big, time lapse. But I do believe you mentioned something to me the other night that
that's actually the only movie where he doesn't have a silver leg. He actually has a gold leg in that movie.
So what he's saying is, I remember him having the silver leg in The Force Awakens. Jonathan says he no longer has the silver leg. He's a solid gold. So I don't know. I mean, we're going to kind of go to a topic because I think this is kind of cool. Is there's people out there that deal with the Mandela Effect, and they just go around looking for places where they can try to see it change in real time. This is no lie. It's out there on the internet, folks. Go out there and watch it. So basically, they'll drive around and they'll look to see if signs are changing colors, or they'll look to see if something's spelled one way and it gets spelled a different way. So
basically, they're trying to memorize their surroundings to see what's changing in their everyday life.
And they're actually taking picture evidence as well.
Yep.
So if they hear that there's a Mandela Effect, that's a good example is Chase Bank. Someone posted online that all the Chase Bank logos were changing, so people were going around taking pictures and trying to catch the different stages of it changing. So check those out. Those are kind of cool. But the reason why I bring that up is I know we've got one more for Star Wars, but how things change so quickly. Jonathan here experienced one with Chuck E. Cheese's.
Yes, I did.
So, do you want to elaborate on the Chuck E. Cheese?
All right, so basically, when I was doing some research on the Mandela Effect, actually prepared for this podcast, I was going through watching some YouTube videos, and I came across one where Chuck E. Cheese's was changing to Chuck E. Cheese's. No,
Chuck E. Cheese was changing to Chuck E. Cheese's.
Yep, Chuck E. Cheese's was changing to Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah, okay. Chuck E. Cheese's was changing to Chuck E. Cheese. And this is going to be a non-edited podcast, so what you're hearing here is how we actually are as we're recording this. So it's, I think it just adds a little bit more reality to the podcast. All right, so Chuck E. Cheese's changed to Chuck E. Cheese, and so you decided to research because you remembered as a kid the song being Chuck E. Cheese is where a kid
could be a kid.
Okay.
And then I go to the official Chuck E. Cheese's website, and it says Chuck E. Cheese. The logo said Chuck E. Cheese. The website was chuckecheese.com. And as I'm on the web page, didn't hit the refresh button or anything, the logo changes from Chuck E. Cheese back to Chuck E. Cheese's, and the website changes back to chuckecheeses.com. And then the video I watched was vice versa, have it going from Chuck E. Cheese changing to Chuck E. Cheese's.
Yeah, that's that is just weird. So what he's saying is he's actually seeing the Mandela Effect in real time.
Or a glitch in a matrix.
Yeah, so of course I was asking, if he was hitting the refresh button and that kind of stuff, but he said he wasn't. But people can upload new logos and that kind of stuff at any given point in time. So that was his personal experience. But of course that isn't what got him involved in the Mandela Effect. That was just as he was doing research. All right, so what's the last one in Star Wars?
Actually, there's going to be one more Star Wars one after this one.
So there's 2 more Star Wars.
Yep, 2 more Star Wars ones.
2 more Star Wars to go.
Well, Obi-Wan Kenobi never actually said "May the Force be with you" in A New Hope.
No, I think he did say "May the Force be with you" in the New Hope. I remember it. I'm sure. I mean, it's a famous line. I do believe "May the Force be with you" was even on the movie poster for the Episode 1, New Hope.
Well, actually, in the movie, he actually only said, "The Force will be with you always. Luke, the Force will be with you, and use the Force, Luke."
Yeah, that was a new one on me. I could have sworn he said, "May the Force be with you."
And I'm sure many people agree with you.
Yeah, especially the diehard Star Wars fans. And with the way the franchise is for Star Wars, there's a lot of us out there.
And the next one for Star Wars is actually one that you actually have some residue for. And that is
the Darth Vader helmet. All right, so go ahead.
So, most people remember Darth Vader's nose piece. How would you explain that piece?
Okay, so basically, if you look at Darth Vader's helmet, he kind of has where the helmet comes in and makes a triangle that kind of covers his mouth with an indentation. In that indentation, it has a little plastic piece, or I'm guessing plastic. I don't know what they used in the movie, but a little piece that kind of sits there to show that it's the nose. And then you can see a couple of pieces to outline kind of the mouth. And so this little piece, which would be the nose piece or a piece of plastic on there, is always been black in the movies. That's all I've got to say. Even the box of the Darth Vader Halloween costume helmet that I got this past year, even the drawing on the box or the picture on the box shows the black nose piece.
But your actual helmet is actually a silver nose now.
Yes, it is. It does have the silver nose piece. That is correct. But I don't ever remember Darth Vader ever having a silver nose piece. Sorry if you're hearing some mic clicks. My boom stand kind of kept falling down there for a second. I apologize if you heard that. All right. So is that all for Star Wars?
Yep, that's going to be all for Star Wars. And the next one's actually going to be on Lassie.
Lassie?
Yep. What if I told you that Timmy never fell down a well in Lassie?
See, this one's kind of troublesome for me. And I tell you why. I never watched Lassie. So I can't tell you if Timmy actually ever fell down the well or not. Maybe there's people out there, and once you listen to this podcast, you can make a comment or something. But I do not ever remember watching that show. I know it was a popular show. I know it was about a dog who was very intelligent, and Timmy was the little boy in it. But I do not remember anything else about it. So I can't tell you if basically that was just something that kind of got made up to make fun of the show or not. But apparently there's a lot of people that remember Timmy falling down the well and then Lassie going to get help and Lassie going to save Timmy.
And they even have the exact representation of that in Family Guy.
That's right. But like I said, I don't know if that is one that someone just made up to make fun of it. So a good example. So let's say in an episode, Lassie comes to get somebody because Timmy's stuck on a railroad track or something like that. The next episode, he's stuck in a tree. The next episode, he's, had his leg run over by a car. Whatever. And Lassie goes each time during the show to fetch Timmy's parents to get help. So people just started, this one theory, as we talk about conspiracy theories, one theory that after all these episodes, they kind of said, oh, well, if Timmy fell down a well, Lassie would be there to help. So it just kind of stuck that Timmy fell down a well. So, and I haven't asked anybody about this, so I can't tell you one way or the other.
And that was before my time, so I just...
Yeah. Well, I think Lassie was before my time, too, but,
Yep.
There was always reruns and that stuff on. But I just don't remember Timmy at all. So that's all I can say. So is that it for Lassie?
Yep, that's it for Lassie. This is another interesting one. So, most people remember Mike Tyson biting off Vander Holyfield's ear.
Oh, well, I don't.
So I personally do because I've watched that video of the ear biting multiple times growing up.
Well, the reason why I say I don't, he didn't. The way I remember it is that he bit off only a chunk of the ear. He didn't bite off the whole ear.
And that's actually how it is in this reality.
So that's what I remember.
But the reason why most of us were like so interested in it because from what I remember from my reality was there was so much blood he had to have 9 stitches to repair his ear and everything like that.
Yeah, in mine it was basically Tyson was getting his butt kicked, and so he went in and bit his ear and spit the piece of the ear out on the mat. That's what I remember.
And there's not much blood, but the videos I remember watching, there was blood just covering both of them.
Yeah. So anyway, that's how I remember it. And of course, actually grew up during the era of Iron Mike Tyson. That was before he got face tattooed and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So this is kind of normal, though, that there are cases where one person will definitely remember the way that it was before, and the other person remember it how it is now. Even if one person is older than the other, they can still remember it only as the current reality. So what's the next one?
The next one's actually going to be about the Diary of Anne Frank.
The Diary of Anne Frank, which is a book that I think every kid had to read in high school.
Yep, I know. I had to read it.
And, I remember even the movie called The Diary of Anne Frank.
Yep.
Yeah, so
we had to watch that in school, too.
Read the book, saw the movie. So what about the Diary of Anne Frank? Did she not actually have to hide away from the Nazis?
No, actually, the book is called The Diary of a Young Girl.
The Diary of a Young Girl. Okay. Now that's a new one.
Yeah, I have clear memory that it's definitely the Diary of Anne Frank, at least in my reality.
Yeah, I'm not buying that one.
What if during the Apollo 13 moon mission, Houston, we've had a problem was never said?
Well, I don't believe that one. I mean, I do believe it was said. It's been quoted on I don't know how many different television shows, kind of like Luke, I am your father. Houston, we have a problem, is something that is said. I mean, even for stuff that doesn't relate to NASA and the moon landing and that kind of stuff, I've always heard, Houston, we have a problem.
Yep. Houston, we've had a problem.
So you're saying it was actually Houston, we had a problem?
We've had a problem.
We've had a problem, not that we have a problem.
Yep, we've had a problem.
Okay. I'm sure people remember that one very well. And that was the Apollo 13 mission?
Yep.
So that's the same one Tom Cruise took up?
Yep.
I mean, not Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise.
Hanks. Tom Hanks, sorry. Which goes back to my other conspiracy theory is you're never allowed to go anywhere with Tom Hanks because he either gets stuck in space, he gets basically taken over by pirates, he has to do an emergency landing in the Hudson River, he ends up as a castaway on an island. I mean, the guy's unlucky. That's all I got to say.
He is pretty unlucky.
Just never travel anywhere with Tom Hanks.
And this is actually another one where we have two different memories on this one. Is I remember the Statue of Liberty being on Ellis Island. What island do you remember it being on?
Liberty Island.
Which is what it's actually on in this reality. But me and my grandparents, we all remember the same way being on Ellis Island.
See, Ellis Island, what I understood was not really where the Statue of Liberty was, but where the immigrants actually came to America, and that was their check-in point. So they would go in and sign in and all that kind of good stuff and get registered. But that was my understanding, and Jonathan has a little bit different on that one. So the other one on the Statue of Liberty, though, is the torch.
Yep. So many people remember going to the torch when they're younger, remembering having friends go up to the torch when they're younger. But the torch has actually been closed for over 100 years. But these people still have these memories of going up to the torch. I remember in middle school, which was probably about around 10 years ago, probably.
Been a while, yeah.
Yeah, so I remember some of my friends actually went to the torch when they took a trip to New York.
Yeah. See, I always thought there was pictures of people standing in the torch. I always thought that.
Yep, but it's actually been closed for over 100 years.
Yeah, I would have never guessed that. I would have said maybe after the last renovation, which happened a few years ago, but not 100 years ago. No.
So, what color do you remember Fonzie's jacket being?
It was black. Black leather jacket.
Well, in this reality, it's brown.
A brown leather jacket. No, it was black.
Yeah, I remember black too.
Yeah, I mean,
Hey.
yeah, I mean, everybody used to go after the black Fonzie jacket. I mean, it was the thing. A brown Fonzie jacket? No, not buying it.
What about Uncle Sam? How do you remember his hat being?
Red, white, and blue.
Well, in this reality, it's actually white with a blue stripe going around and stars going around it.
Yeah, which is an odd one.
It is an odd one because it looks so strange.
Yeah, I mean, you got all these. We'll just talk about Rocky. I mean, when Rocky fought Apollo Creed, Apollo Creed came out dressed in the standard Uncle Sam outfit with the red, white, and blue hat. I mean, you go by for 4th of July, you can purchase the red, white, and blue hat, the Uncle Sam hats. So I mean,
this is funny because where I know about the Mandela Effect and everything. So GameStop, they actually have an ad going on right now for Fallout 76 with a representation of Uncle Sam with the red, white, and blue hat.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
So even GameStop remembers it wrong.
Yeah, I would have always said red, white, and blue hat, but that's just me. And it's not GameStop that remembers it wrong. It's probably the game manufacturer that remembers it wrong. GameStop is just the advertiser or the reseller. You got any other good ones over there?
Have you seen The Nightmare Before Christmas?
I have. That's the weird one where Halloween kind of mixes with Christmas.
Yep.
Yeah.
so you know the dog Zero?
Yes, the ghost dog.
Yep. How do you remember his nose being?
I really can't picture what his nose looked like.
Well, I remember watching the movie, and I remember his nose being bright red, like a red nose like Rudolph.
I don't necessarily remember that, but like I said, I don't remember what the dog looked like, other than he was a ghost dog.
That's how most people remember it. People even have tattoos of it like that and everything like that. But now his nose is actually a bright orange pumpkin.
Well, which would make sense.
It makes sense.
Yeah,
with the movie.
That would actually make sense.
But the thing is, there's so much residue of people remembering.
Yeah, but that would make sense though if you think about it. Yeah.
And then I know you've seen The Karate Kid.
Yes, I have seen The Karate Kid. All except for the new Karate Kid. I saw the old Karate Kid, back in the day when Danielson, learned to wax on and wax off.
Yep. Well, everyone knows that the bandana is the Red Rising Sun.
See, that one, I understand what you're saying there, and I really do. But to be honest with you, I couldn't tell you what that, other than, if I go and look at pictures, then I'd be able to tell you. I couldn't tell you what the bandana looked like. I couldn't tell you if it was Rising Sun, if it was dogs playing poker. I couldn't tell you what was on the bandana. I'll be honest with you.
But if you saw the bandana because you pointed it out.
Well, I mean, if you showed me a bandana that had the Rising Sun on it, and considering it's a Japanese, bandana, and, it's karate, that type of thing, I would probably say the Rising Sun one. But I got a feeling you're going to tell me it's not the Rising Sun.
Well, it's not the Rising Sun anymore, but that's how everyone remembers it being.
Well, what is it now?
It's this weird white bandana with black on it. There's no red at all.
Is it even a Rising Sun?
No.
Okay. There you have it. So I guess if you really want to see what Danielson's headband or bandana look like, you could probably Google it and find it really easily. There's probably even a YouTube video about it. I don't know. All right. While Jonathan is searching for another good topic, I'm going to bring up one that Jonathan knows I'm very passionate about, because there's no freaking way that I'm not right about this one. Okay? Once again, I think if I'm not right about this one, then the world is really messing with me. All right, this is the way I actually see it. So back when I was growing up, there was the thing called the Publisher Clearinghouse, and I'm sure a lot of people that are older, my age and older, definitely remember the Publishers Clearinghouse sweepstakes, where somebody would show up at your door with a big giant check and say, "You're our latest winner of $1,000,000." You used to get a envelope in the mail to where you would have to purchase the ability to purchase magazines, and even if you bought the magazines, you never got the magazines, which is still a sore spot. I mean, there were some magazines I really wanted, like Monster Trucks, when I was growing up. I never got my Monster Truck magazine. Just saying. But to me, they always had a spokesperson for the Publishers Clearinghouse, and that spokesperson was Ed McMahon. The guy from Johnny Carson, who was Johnny Carson's sidekick. And I remember clearly the commercials, even on the envelope had a picture of Ed McMahon on it. And I remember the commercials where Ed McMahon's talking about going and delivering the check to the winner, right? I remember that. But apparently, according to Publishers Clearinghouse website, they have never had a spokesperson.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting to me too, because I'm pretty sure when Monday Night Raw had like a bunch of the special guest general managers for the nights, they actually had Ed McMahon on there for one of the episodes, if I remember correctly, and they had him carrying around a big check.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, even like some of the cartoon spoofs. I mean, I think Family Guy's even done the Ed McMahon big check bit. So that one I really have a hard time struggling with, because I know Ed McMahon was their spokesperson, even though they say they've never had one. So that one is really odd to me. All
right. One that's really odd to me is I remember Pikachu having a black tip on his tail, and I played all the Pokemon games. I collected Pokemon cards growing up, watched the show. So I'm pretty sure that he definitely had a black tip on the end of his tail, but now it's all yellow.
Well, yeah, I thought it had a black tip as well. And the other interesting note about Pikachu is Ryan Reynolds is playing him in a movie. So I'd like to see him play him as the Deadpool character, though.
Yeah, that'd be
awesome.
really fun. That would be the best Pokemon movie ever.
It would. I'd really like to see that. That'd be great. All right, Jonathan, you got something else? If you're wondering why the pause was there, my dog is doing something really strange. I'm not sure what she's doing, but it's really odd.
Well, I know everyone's heard this line before. Lucy, you've got some splaining to do.
Yes, that has been used in countless movies. They've quoted it in movies. It's been in cartoons and the whole 9 yards. Lucy, you got some splaining to do.
Well, that's actually never been said in I Love Lucy.
Yeah, that's I wouldn't figured that, no. Because I definitely remember those, because Lucy was always doing something stupid. I just have to ask, do they say anything about the famous line, Lucy, I'm home?
Yep, that's still in there.
All right, just checking.
The next one that we're going to bring up is that Richard Simmons does not wear a headband anymore.
Yeah, so I always thought in all his workout videos and stuff that he wore the headband. I always remember Richard Simmons having a headband. Anytime there's a parody of Richard Simmons, he always has a headband on. So I remember that. But also, the fact that I like to point out is, if nobody remembers, Richard Simmons actually got his start as a character named Mr. Goodbody on PBS, or here it was channel 46 or something like that. But anyway, the PBS channel, when I was growing up as a kid, he was called Mr. Goodbody. And he used to wear a leotard that actually had pictures of the organs laid out on it, so he could demonstrate what the path of the esophagus was, or how food would go down, that kind of thing. So it was kind of cool, but that's how he got his start. He was Mr. Goodbody.
Yeah, and speaking about the human anatomy, I actually remember the heart being on the left side of the body, and so does a big portion of the population, but you actually remember it how it actually is now.
Yeah, in school, I always learned, in biology, I learned that the heart is in the center.
Yup, and I remember being taught that it was a little bit to the left.
And my theory on that one is that it's because, when you grew up, everybody, when you did Pledge of Allegiance or for the national anthem, you always
right hand on
on your heart. which
does make sense.
It's more comfortable to take your hand and put it basically on the left side of your body than in the center. You kind of look stupid and you'll actually bump into people. So if you do it the correct way, your arm and everything's tucked in. So I think that could, in my opinion, that's just something that is residual from that memory of, being trained to put your left hand over your heart or your right hand over your heart on your left side.
Here's one that doesn't even look remotely right the way it is now, and that is blue ribbon ice cream.
Blue ribbon ice cream.
Yep. Do you remember it being spelled blue, BLUERIBBON, or blue, RIBAND?
Now, what was that again?
How do you remember ribbon being spelled?
RIBBON?
Well, it's actually RIBAND. Blue ribbon.
Blue rib band.
Yep.
Yeah, that just doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever.
And just like Oscar Mayer, I remember Meyer.
Yes, that was the song. My baloney has a first name, it's Oscar. My baloney has a second name, it's Meyer. But you're saying it's not spelled Meyer anymore?
Nope, it's Oscar Mayer now.
Mayer. Okay, maybe you guys remember it different than I do, but I remember the song Meyer. That's how I learned how to spell Meyer.
And I also remember the Monopoly man having a monocle.
Yes, and I did some more research on this particular topic, and there's a lot of people out there that believe people were getting the Monopoly Man and Mr. Peanut mixed up, because Mr. Peanut does have a monocle.
Yep.
Monopoly Man doesn't, but I remember Mr.
I remember him having a monocle.
Yeah. I think the Monopoly character's name is Mr. Moneybags or something like that.
Mr.
But anyways,
Moneybags or something like that.
But I remember the monocle, and I always had to be the car. I'm just stating a fact there.
And another
on another note, the thimble was the stupidest piece in the game. All
right. Another really interesting one is that most people remember the Panama Canal going east to west when it actually goes north to south now.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that was always the case, that it was connecting the Pacific Ocean to the Gulf of Mexico. So, and I guess it could still do that going vertical, but it doesn't make much sense.
Another really interesting one is how the Easter Island heads now have red hats.
Yeah, that was a good one when you showed me that one. And if I hadn't seen the pictures myself, I would have said they were photoshopped. But yeah, so some of the Eastern Island heads actually have red hats on now.
Like there's a whole conspiracy about how the red hats got there.
How did the red hats get there?
No one knows.
Well, but then how's it a conspiracy? You got to do research on that one.
I haven't done research on it.
You got to do research. So you get to do research on the red hat conspiracy for the Easter Island heads, because that would be something that I'm interested in. Just like I'm still interested in the whole thing with the Denver airport, because that's just freaky stuff.
Yeah,
that's very freaky.
So, how well do you remember the original Jaws movie poster?
It was a picture of Jaws underneath the water coming up to catch a diver, or a woman that was floating in the water with the big letters Jaws at the top.
Was there like a bite mark taken out of it?
Taken out of the word Jaws?
Yeah, like behind the word Jaws.
No, I don't remember that. No.
Well, you remember how it is now, but there's a big portion of the population that remember like a bite mark coming out of the word Jaws.
Well, I mean, that could have been an alternate poster. I mean, I remember it now, and I'll be honest with you, it's because, I've seen well, I can't say it's the movie poster, to be honest with you. I can't even say it's the movie poster that I remember. But if you go and you do search on, Netflix or Vudu or Amazon Prime for Jaws, you get what the DVD cover looks like, right? So I definitely know the DVD cover has Jaws coming up to get the swimmer with the words Jaws in red. So I guess what I'm saying is I may not even know what the poster looked like. So I'm probably not a good example of that.
Well, one that kind of fascinates me is the Mona Lisa actually has the identity now. And I was always taught that she was the unknown woman,
Well,
the mystery woman.
I always thought the theory was that everybody thought that she was actually a self-portrait of Da Vinci.
Yeah, like her identity was a mystery. That's what.
Yeah, and
we
everybody
all
was
remember.
guessing that it was Da Vinci.
Well, actually, her identity has been known all the entire time.
Yeah,
Her name is actually Lisa del Giocondo.
Huh.
And another interesting thing is like most people used to talk about how she like didn't look like she was smiling.
Yeah,
at
that
all,
she had no
but
expression
now
on her
she
face.
she like clearly looks like she's like smirking, grinning, at least a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I remember that was always a thing. Is she smiling? Is she not smiling? Is that an expression on her face or is it not?
But now she's clearly smiling.
I remember that. I'll have to remember that next time when I'm in the Louvre.
And then another one is the thinker's pose.
Yeah, I mean, basically that's the one that everybody has at some point mimicked, especially in sports where they've down on a knee or sitting down with their fist on their forehead, or some cases fist underneath the chin.
And then how he is now, like his hand open, resting under his chin.
Basically, it's a very unnatural looking position
Like
that nobody would sit
Well,
in.
like the residue for this is like funny because people were doing the wrong poses right in front of the statue.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, yeah, that's just unbelievable that, because it doesn't look comfortable. I mean, if someone had to basically model for that particular sculpture, they could not sit like that for too long.
Yeah, it definitely didn't look comfortable at all.
Yeah. He looked more constipated than thinking, in my opinion, in that pose.
And now we're going to do the one that we discovered the other night about the wrestler, Mr. Perfect.
Yeah, so if you're a fan of the WWE, WCW, or even the WWF days, and remember Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig, then this is for you.
Yeah, most people remember him as Kurt Hennig.
Henning.
Yep, but his name is actually Kurt Hennig now.
Hennig.
Yep.
Which Kurt Hennig, Hennig, was actually his real name. But when I grew up watching the sports entertainment, and I remember it definitely as Kurt Hennig, Henning. And I do believe you even found cases where there was merchandise that was licensed by WCW at the time, and even the WWF / WWE, where it's actually spelled Henning. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So even their own merchandise says it was Henning. Yeah. I just don't see how something like that could change. Granted, it's whether he's using his real name or a fake name that sounds very similar to his real name. But I remember Kurt Hennig, Henning.
And then another one from the wrestling world. A lot of people remember The Rock's signature punchline wrong.
I remember it as, "Can you smell what The Rock is cooking?"
And I actually remember it as both.
What was the other one?
If you smell what The Rock is cooking.
Yeah, why would anybody think it was "If you smell what The Rock is cooking"?
Well, that's actually what it is now. But that's...
Yeah, I mean, that makes no sense. If you smell what The Rock is cooking.
But like I remember it being canned when I was like growing up, and then I remember when he made his like comeback to like fight John Cena at WrestleMania. He came back, and that's when I noticed it changed to "if."
Well, did it change, or has it always been "if"?
Well, I feel like it changed because I remember it being canned
Well,
and changing over.
I'm saying that from a Mandela effect, it's changed from "can" to "if." But
Yep.
In your research, has it always been "if"?
Yep, it's always been "if."
Huh. I could have sworn it was, "Can you smell what The Rock is cooking?"
The next one is going to be from the movie Snow White.
Snow White.
The famous mirror on the wall. Who's the fairest of them all? Quote.
Yes, I remember "Mirror, mirror on the wall. Who's the famous of them all?"
Well, it's actually magic mirror on the wall. Who's the fairest of them all?
Magic mirror on the wall.
Yep.
And with that one, even the original VHS, for those that remember VHSs, the back of the VHS box actually had the quote, "Mirror, mirror on the wall."
Yeah, I'm pretty certain that it was mirror on the wall. Yeah. And there's been like so many...
Well, official Disney coloring books, whole 9 yards, it actually has the saying "Mirror, mirror on the wall."
And this is one that definitely like throws me off. You don't remember it the same way I do, but I remember Bob Marley singing "Don't Worry, Be Happy."
It was Bobby McFerrin. It's always been Bobby McFerrin. Granted, they're both Jamaican, but it's always been Bobby McFerrin.
I remember it being Bob Marley, and so does a big portion of the population.
It's always been Bobby McFerrin. I would, yeah, that's what it's always been. That's what I remember listening to. But then again, I am old. Well, not that old, but I'm old.
And this is one that is definitely going to affect a big portion of our audience. And that is the song "We Are the Champions," the very ending of the song.
I remember "We Are the Champions" ending with the words, "We are the champions of the world."
Well, now it just ends. The song actually ends like this: "We are the champions," and then it's just silence.
Well, I understand that. That's what I'm saying. I remember it was "We are the champions of the world." Yeah, see that one again. Like when we discussed it, Jonathan. That's one where you could be getting the live version mixed up with the studio version. I don't know, but I definitely remember "of the world" because it doesn't make any sense to stop with just "We are the champions."
Yeah, like it just doesn't. It feels like the song's just missing something.
Yeah, it does. It just feels like there's something missing at the end of the song.
And then we're gonna stick with the music genre, and we're gonna go to the Journey song "Don't Stop Believing."
Don't stop believing. Okay, what's about "Don't Stop Believing," sir?
Well, most people remember the song going, "She took the midnight train going anywhere."
Yes.
Well, he actually says he took the midnight train going anywhere
So,
twice.
so in the first verse where the song's talking about the girl, she's just a small town girl
Yep, just a small town girl.
living in a lonely world.
Yeah, that she was.
She took the midnight train going anywhere. But you're saying he actually says he took the midnight train even when she was talking about the girl.
Yep.
And then he says the same thing
when he's talking about
the guy. Okay.
Which doesn't really make sense because
why
would he be talking about the guy when he's just introduced the girl? He hasn't even introduced the guy.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. It has to be she.
And then another interesting one. So I remember being taught in school that there was only one moon landing.
Well, I mean, see, this is one where I have trouble with because in school, yeah, I only was told about one moon landing, right? It's the one that happens, one small leap for man. We'll say one small leap for man, one giant leap for mankind. That quote. So in school, you learned about the one, but then I can honestly say that I learned about more from watching Apollo 13 because it kind of covered some of that history. So I don't know really what to tell you because technically Apollo 13 was supposed to be a moon landing before things went wrong. But how many moon landings were there?
There's actually 6.
Okay, so there were 6 times an astronaut walked on the moon.
Yep.
And saw the aliens on the dark side of the moon that told them never to come back.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's another topic for another day, but there's aliens on the moon. There's big bases on the dark side of the moon. We can't see them because the moon faces us, or the light side of the moon faces us, so we can't see them, so they're hiding out. They met with our astronauts and told them never to come back because they were evil. Or, if you believe the other aspect of it is we never landed on the moon.
Yeah.
Which is another conspiracy all in itself. Or, if you believe the flat earther theory, which is basically we live in a big planetarium and the moon's just a light.
Basically.
Which is another conspiracy theory.
So, can you name off the reindeer for me?
You mean
Santa's reindeer?
Do you know Dasher and Dancer and Comet and Blitzen? Comet and Cupid and Donner and Blitzen.
What if I told you it's not Donner anymore? It's Donder.
Donder?
Yep.
It's Donner. Everything you look at says Donner.
It's Donder.
Donder. That doesn't make any sense. Donder.
Well, yeah. It doesn't like sound right to me either, but it's how it is.
Donder. Donder. Whatever. It's Donner. I mean, even some of the decorations or even some of the Christmas shows, it says it is Donner. Donner. Everybody knows it is Donner. But then again, what's the difference? Donner's kind of the stupid name for a reindeer anyways.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, Donner or Donder.
Or Donder. Doesn't really make a
Comet,
difference.
yeah, the Comet makes sense. Dasher makes sense. But Donner? Seriously? That's like Rudolph. Rudolph. What kind of name is that for a reindeer?
Here's another fascinating Mandela effect. There's actually no balcony scene in Romeo and Juliet.
Yes, there is. You're full of crap on that one. There was a balcony scene. Oh, Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo? And in his response, what light through yonder window break? He's on the ground. She's up there on the balcony. And they're two idiots. They don't even realize they're looking at each other. Okay? That's how I remember it.
That's how I remember it as well, but there's no balcony scene in Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, that's... I think you're smoking something on that one, son. I do. He's smoking something, I swear. You ain't done the good one yet.
The JFK one?
Well, no, the run, Forrest, run.
Everyone remembers Tom Hanks' Forrest Gump line. Life is like a box of chocolates.
You never know what you're gonna get. That was pretty good, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was
Life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get, Jenny.
Well, what is it now, Forrest?
Life was like a box of chocolates.
Life was?
Life was like
why would he say life was like a box of chocolates?
Because Mama always said life was like a box of chocolates. And then, depending on where you're from, you know, Mama always said that alligators are stupid because they got so many teeth and no toothbrush. Sorry, that was the water boy.
Yeah.
Mama always said football's for the devil. Oh, sorry. I get sidetracked too easy, don't I?
Yeah, you do.
I can't help it.
Did you know that the Scarecrow in The Wizard of Oz now has a gun?
He has a gun?
Yeah, he has a gun.
No way.
The Scarecrow in the
Now, I did not know about this one, guys.
The Scarecrow in The Wizard of Oz now has a gun in multiple scenes. And then everyone's like, well, why didn't he just use the gun?
Yeah, just shoot the freaking flying monkeys. It scared the crap out of me as a kid.
He had a gun the entire time, just didn't use it.
He didn't have a brain. Would you trust a guy with no brain to have a gun? Well, granted, we do that a lot in society today. There's a lot of people that don't have a brain that are still able to own guns. I realize that. But come on. He did not have a gun.
Yep. If you look at go and watch the movie now, in multiple scenes, he's holding a gun.
Next thing you're going to tell me is that Dorothy had a penis. I mean, come on. That's about how stupid it is that the Scarecrow has a gun.
Well, he has a gun.
Okay. All right, Dorothy, you got a penis. Hope I didn't offend any Wizard of Oz fans with that one.
This is a personal Mandela effect for me and my mom and my sister. So we remember the show Ghost Hunters actually being called Taps when it first came out. But it's actually never been called Taps, but a big portion of the population actually remembers the show being called
Well, that's because
Taps.
the group, the organization that was in Ghost Hunters was called Taps.
And the thing is, we understand that, but the show was called Taps too. We remember the introduction and everything.
No, it's always been called Ghost Hunters. Or Ghost Hunters International.
Alright, so back to the JFK assassination.
Yes, JFK was assassinated in Dallas by... Who was he assassinated by?
Well, I don't know.
You really don't know?
No?
Oswald.
No, it's Jackie.
No, he was assassinated by Oswald, who shot from the book depository.
No, it's Jackie.
No, Jackie didn't.
That's a conspiracy in this reality.
Jackie did not do it. There was a lone gunman, or the driver, or the police officer. Anyway, that's a whole nother conspiracy topic in itself. What about the Mandela effect with JFK?
How many people do you remember being in the car?
Well, there was a driver, a Secret Service agent, JFK himself, and Jackie.
That's
So,
how I remember it.
4.
4. There's actually always been 6 people in the car.
So the driver, a Secret Service guy, two people behind them, and then JFK and Jackie.
That is correct.
Huh. Now, see, I've seen cars and everything else, where they've reconstructed it, and it always showed four seats. It was a convertible back in the day. How many of those do you remember having 6 seats?
Not many.
Exactly. I mean, it wasn't like it was a limo or anything.
So, do you remember being Looney Tunes with spelled like tunes as in cartoons or tunes as in music tunes?
Well, once again, I've recently seen the logo, and it's TUNES. But when I was growing up, I could have sworn it was TOONS.
Which makes even more sense because Baby Looney Tunes is still spelled tunes as in cartoon.
Yeah.
And then I think we should end things off on one that blows my mind for sure, and that is the movie Shazam with Sinbad in it, never existing.
Oh, here we go again. He's bringing this freaking topic up one more time. Okay, I keep telling him he's confusing it with Kazam, which actually had Shaquille O'Neal as a genie.
I know who Shaquille O'Neal is, and Shaquille O'Neal wasn't in this movie. Sinbad was in this movie.
Sinbad was never in a movie about a genie. It was Shaquille O'Neal, and it was Kazam.
We're not, like, the thing is, my aunt remembers watching this movie with me.
Well, I think you guys were just crazy back then, because I can tell you I've never heard of a movie called Shazam that had Sinbad in it.
Well, they just probably got rid of it because it probably had too much Mandela Effect residue in it.
Yeah, but apparently a lot of people actually believe the movie Shazam with Sinbad and it exists. They even asked Sinbad about it, and he said, "Yeah, that sounds like a really good movie. I should make it." So that was.
But like the thing is, like, a big portion of the population, we all remember the movie being the same exact way. We all remember scenes being the same way, but the movie's never existed, and we remember watching it.
Yeah, like I said,
because it has a different plot line than Kazam. Because we're not getting them confused at all.
Yeah, I mean that's the only thing I could think people are doing is confusing Shaq with Sinbad, which makes no sense there either.
Because like they're two different people. Like
but speaking of genies, do you know Will Smith is playing the genie in the live action version of Aladdin? And he's going to be blue and everything?
Well, another interesting one that's kind of weird to me that I found out is the nationality for Aladdin's actually Asian and not Arabic.
But it's Arabian Nights.
It's well, in this reality, it's an Asian movie.
No, it's Arabian Nights. It even sings it in the song.
I watched the video, and apparently the origin behind it, Aladdin is Asian.
Oh, I remember Arabian Nights.
I remember Arabian
the song.
Nights too.
I mean, come on, that's just BS. Next thing you're gonna do is tell me that, Lion King wasn't about a real lion. Is that what you're gonna tell me?
It wasn't about a real lion,
man. Which Disney's coming out with a bunch of live actions for all their movies, which is kind of cool. But the fact that Will Smith is playing a genie, kind of a letdown though, because there's not going to be any Robin Williams. Rest in peace, Robin. All right, let's try to get one more in here, and then we'll close this episode. Do you got another one?
I'm sure I can find another one.
Okay, I've got the last one, because everybody remembers Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Everybody remembers that. I mean, everybody knows the song. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor. Hi, neighbor. But sadly, he does not say it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. He sings, it's a beautiful day in this neighborhood. That's right. Everybody sings the song wrong.
Yep, everyone just sings it wrong.
Yeah, everybody sings it wrong. But it's a beautiful day in this neighborhood, not in the neighborhood. But I do believe that's all we've got. So in about a week, we're going to try to get up the second episode in the Mandela Effect series on the Conspiracy Madness Network for our show. Network is the Big Blue Madness Network of shows. We'll try to get that up in about a week. So after this gets posted, maybe by the time that, since this is the first episode, everything gets to where it's propagated out to all the distributors. The first two may actually, this one and the next one may actually already be up online. So I don't know yet. But Jonathan's going to work up the stuff for the next Mandela Effect episode. And what is the topic of it?
This one's actually going to be, I didn't know it was going to be on.
It's your show. You don't know what it's going to be on. So is it going to be on? Okay. So maybe we won't have another Mandela Effect topic. But I thought we were going to have one on that.
I didn't know which one I was going to do next.
All right. We don't know which one we're going to do next. Okay. But he's got a couple ideas in mind. If we don't get around to doing another Mandela Effect, we'll come up with some other conspiracy that we'll discuss. You know, something cool, I'm sure. But until next time, be sure to check out our website at bbmnetwork.com. All our podcasts are posted there. You can leave comments. You can subscribe to iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, all that from the website. Hit us up on Twitter at @bbmn_shows. That's our Twitter handle. Remember that. And our Facebook page is facebook.com/bbmn shows, and there's no underscore between bbmn and shows. Go there. We actually did something this past weekend where we tried to do a Facebook Live and get some interaction, that kind of stuff with it on the Mandela Effect. Basically, if you listen to the latest Technology Madness podcast, you can find out all about that experience and what we went through. So check out the Technology Madness podcast and our Conspiracy Madness podcast. Make sure you subscribe, leave us comments, let us know what you think. And until next time, have a good one.